So what's going on, guys? MrDalekJD here. Now, what if I told you that Raul Menendez, the main villain in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, is in the Cold War zombie storyline and furthermore has actually come face to face with the undead? It sounds insane, but this crossover has actually happened. And today we're going to be detailing that moment as well as the potential that in the future we may actually see references and potential cameos to Menendez in zombies. Now, before you start throwing pitchforks in the comments saying that is ridiculous, Cold War has already had some incredible Raul Menendez Easter eggs and references thanks to the multiplayer map Cartel, where we can go through the house that Raul Menendez lived in, his father being dead on his bed, as well as various propaganda around the map from the Cartel. There's lots of interesting stuff going on. So how exactly is Raul Menendez involved in Cold War zombies, I hear you asking? Well, thanks to some secret intel you can discover in the game, you learn of a young soldier, part of the Menendez cartel, who writes a letter to his mother following the events of a dimensional breach where they're attacked by zombies. And funnily enough, only this young soldier, George, and Raul Menendez survived this zombies outbreak. So let's paint the picture for this story. This is January 12th, 1984. 2 years before the CIA sent in Alex Mason, Frank Woods, and Jason Hudson to capture Menendez, and it's an iconic scene where they search the house to find Menendez, who eventually cornered him in his sister's room, where Woods throws the grenade that would kill Raul's sister and give Raul that pure hatred that he has for America that we see in Black Ops 2. Well, this zombie scenario is in the viewpoint of a young soldier called George, who is a soldier in the Menendez cartel, who writes, "I know you have not wanted to hear from me since Manuel and I, who's his brother, started working for the Menendez cartel. And I've tried to respect that decision, but something has happened out here, something terrible, and if I do not warn you, I would truly be as bad as you think I am. It began yesterday morning. I was at the airstrip helping load a cargo plane. Raul Menendez himself was there, so his Sicario set up a checkpoint in case the gringos who murdered his father tried to interfere. I was driving a forklift out of the warehouse when a strange sound rose up all around us, almost like a human scream. The Sicarios grabbed their guns thinking it was a raid. Instead, the area around the checkpoint crackled like lightning, and I swear it looked as if the air itself was somehow splitting open. Mama, this will be hard to believe, but all I can do is tell you what I saw. The men nearest the rib in the air staggered and fell. They look withered like corpses left out in the sun. Even so, they all got up and walked towards the rest of us, dropping their weapons as if they did not even know what they held. Some of the other workers ran to help them. The Sicarios attacked them with their hands and teeth. I saw one tear a man's throat out. All the while, that rip in the air stayed open. For all I know, it is still there. Manuel was not present for any of this. He was back at the cartel's main camp. He always told me to show loyalty and courage around Raul, but in that moment I just pressed the gas and tried to drive that forklift as far from the airstrip as it would take me. I saw Raul's car pull away in the other direction. The pilot of the cargo plane fired up his engines and made the quickest takeoff I've ever seen. Some of those withered, mindless soldiers of death clung to the plane as it left the ground. I think one got inside because I heard it go down almost immediately. That sound stayed in my head along with the screams of the friends I abandoned as I drove across the airstrip and into the jungle. Aside from Raul Menendez and his driver, I may be the only one who escaped that place alive." So for context, a dimensional breach has opened at this airstrip, killing all of the Menendez cartel apart from this young soldier George and Raul himself. Now this next one is a letter describing the battle against the soldiers of death. I left the forklift at the tree line and ran up a hill that overlooks the airstrip. I could hear gunshots the whole time, growing less frequent. By the time I reached the top, anyone who understood how to shoot a gun was already dead. The soldiers of death, the zombies, now feasted on the corpses of my co-workers. I'd always been afraid of Menendez's Sicarios even after Manuel joined their ranks, but they were still men who could be reasoned with or paid off. Now they're mindless beasts who never knew mercy to begin with. I walked 10 kilometers back to the main camp, avoiding the road. When I arrived, they were already fortifying the place. I nearly got shot as I walked out of the jungle, but they lowered their guns when I waved and called out. I started to tell them what happened at the airstrip, but they said it was happening at all of our camps in the area. Senor Raul ordered us to shoot on sight anyone infected by the same withering condition that turned his bodyguards into mindless cannibals. rebels. Then he went to call in a favor from his contacts overseas. No one could tell me where my brother Manuel was. I slipped away and went to a place in the jungle where he buried some money he never told El Jefe about. And that is where I found him, Mama, wandering aimlessly, moaning like an animal. He's no longer your son or my brother. He's one of the soldiers of death now. I had my orders, but I could not shoot Manuel. What if this was temporary? What if they find a cure? I decided to go back and tell the others I could not find him. I even managed to tether him to a tree so he could not wander away. All I knew was if the cartel saw him like this, they would cut him down without a second thought. And here is the final bit involving the fate of his brother Manuel. I knew the reach of the Menendez cartel extends around the world, but I did not understand just how high Jeffe's influence went until his Soviet friends arrived by helicopter, several squads of Russian soldiers that made our sicarios look like Boy Scouts. Senor Raul spoke to them briefly, then told us these men were in charge now. I've not seen El Jefe since, but his Russian friends seem to know more about this whole situation than they're willing to admit. It feels less like they are here to help than they are here to cover it all up. I'm beginning to doubt that I will survive this after all, and to be honest, I don't much care, not after today. You see, I went to check on Manuel after the Russians sent out kill squads to eliminate all soldiers of death. By the time I reached Manuel, I knew I was being followed. Turns out it was Hector Garcia from Matagalpa, who was Manuel's squad leader, which is probably why Hector let me live. He understood why I tried to spare my brother, but leaving Manuel in this condition was simply not an option. So he said he would keep this between us on one condition. You must spare your brother the continued pain of his existence. And so I did it. I put 2 bullets in Manuel's head and then I buried him. Hector even helped dig the grave. I pray you're safe and that Rio Blanco was spared this horror. I'm gonna stay here and help hunt down the rest of the infected. After that, I expect the Russians will eliminate all witnesses, including myself, and I will deserve it. What happened to Manuel and the others was not their fault, and I know you will disagree, but it was not God's judgment either. They were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. I only hope time has not run out for everyone. Connor Moore, George. Now, wow, that is what you call a story, ladies and gentlemen. It is so interesting that with the narrative of Cold War zombies and these dimensional gateways opening up all around the world, any character can be involved in the zombie storyline here, just like you're seeing with Raul Menendez and his entire cartel. Now, what makes this all so fascinating, and I'm sure it's something you probably didn't catch upon me reading it for the first time, is that the reach of the Menendez cartel extends around the world. And those several squads of Russian soldiers that descended here are not just random Russians, they are part of Omega Group. Raul Menendez is friendly with Omega Group, which is absolutely incredible when you think about the scale of what this group are capable of in the zombie storyline. What they want to do is they want to take advantage of whatever's happening with these dimensional gateways to create their own undead army. Now, their ultimate goal in doing this is so that they can one-up the Americans and have the ultimate advantage in the Cold War, because that is ultimately what the Cold War is. It's a constant battle between the US and the Soviets to one-up each other. This would be a horrendous thing, which is why us on Requiem are trying to stop this. On one hand, I'm sure Raul Menendez is devastated by the complete decimation of his cartel from the zombies outbreak, but on the other hand, having personal ties to Omega Group like that is incredibly interesting. And we learn in Black Ops 2 that the cartel's background was originally run by Raul's father, who we see dead on his bed in the multiplayer map Cartel, but his father gave the gang a godlike reputation in the criminal underworld until his CIA-backed assassination, where his son took over from then on, being Raul Menendez. And we learn from Cold War's campaign that while the cartel continued activity under Raul's leadership, it managed to keep its high reputation. And due to this, Raul managed to obtain connections to people in high places, such as Soviet Colonel Lev Kravchenko, who of course plays a massive part in the original Black Ops game. Now, the identities of the people in Omega Group seem to be very, very mysterious right now, but it would be incredibly fitting that since we have Grigory Weaver as part of Requiem, the opposing enemies, being the Soviets, would be Colonel Lev Kravchenko. We don't know for sure who's part of Omega Group, but since Kravchenko is a direct enemy to Weaver, it makes sense that they are working against each other, and it would make perfect sense for Kravchenko to be one of the main colonels in Omega Group, which is why Raul has a connection to him, and hence why Omega Group came in the first place. In this point in the story, storyline, Raul Menendez does not have any hatred for Americans because that unfortunate event with his sister hasn't happened yet. It doesn't happen for 2 years. And whilst everything in Cold War is canon, we obviously don't see Raul Menendez with an undead army in Black Ops 2 in 2025, but it's incredible that that backstory is there to begin with. And it's just imagining the thought that Raul Menendez is running around like a headless chicken with zombies trying to kill him. It's incredible, and something I honestly never ever expected to hear in the zombie storyline, but Cold War Zombies really is making anything possible, and it's all thanks to these incredible intels that you can find on the Onslaught game mode, and I believe you can find these on the multiplayer map Cartel, because I'm pretty confident that the whole story is being depicted on the actual Cartel map. Like the hangar with the airplane is that hangar near the back of the map that you run through. It's just so awesome to see all of this come together. As much as we don't experience this through actual gameplay in the Die Maschine map itself, it's still incredibly awesome backstory, and I'm sure a lot of you just genuinely had no idea that Raul Menendez was involved in the Cold War Zombie storyline. If you enjoyed this video, you learned something new today, please go ahead and let me know by dropping a like rating, leaving your thoughts on this in the comments below, and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on more great videos like this. You can check my last upload on your screen right now, but thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you for another one very, very soon.